Good morning, good morning, good morning, my friends. This is amazing. I got these beautiful just rays of light streaming through these big tall pine trees. The air here is just humid. It's kind of like drinking the air today. It's amazing, but it is giving me these beautiful mist kind of just hanging in the air and these beautiful little just rays of light shooting through the trees. And that is this first shot for the day. Just the rays of trees coming through. Got pine trees kind of framing up my left side of my frame. The right side are just all these little skinny guys going up, and I have one little young tree just kind of shooting right up in the middle, catching all the light. Sort of kind of bracketing the shot, doing two exposures. I'm doing one exposure for the light rays and doing another exposure for the trees. Shooting the trees at about 1.5 seconds f9 ISO 100, and then we're shooting our light rays at around 1/4 second f9 1/100th of a second. That obviously losing all the detail in the trees because it's so dark, but it's accentuating those shafts of light, which is really what this image is all about. It's just those big shafts of light coming down through these trees. Beautiful way to start the day. It's gorgeous. We are in Hocking Hills State Park, and I am on the Buckeye Trail. Far less popular trail than most of the trails. This one is in the northern part of the park. And this one's not so popular because it doesn't have a lot of waterfalls. Hocking Hills State Park is kind of known for its waterfalls, and they're beautiful. But I chose a little lesser traveled section of the park today just to kind of explore it and get a feel for it. And it's gorgeous, it's beautiful. The trees are thick, 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 thick. It is dark in here. So that's gonna be kind of a challenge today. Just the light levels are a little on the low side. It'll be fine for the stills camera. I can just kind of leave that shutter open for as long as I need to, but video is gonna be tricky today. But we're gonna do our best. We're just gonna explore this trail, little 4-mile out and back trail, and see what we can find. The birds are singing, the trees are dripping wet, and it's gorgeous, and I couldn't ask for much more. So let's head down this trail and see what we can find today. So far, loving it. I mean, light rays. That is fantastic. Okay, in true typical me fashion, we've traveled about 25 feet from the last shot. This shot is a little bit of a cliched woodland shot, but I don't care. I like it. I'm taking it anyway. I've got this fallen log, and here at the bottom half of it, this bark has been stripped back and is just kind of exposing that light-colored fleshy wood below it. And of course, I've got a fern growing up right next to it. So I've got these fern leaves shooting up from the bottom of the frame, these kind of dark green, luscious little dewdrop covered fern leaves draping over that kind of almost yellow bark of the tree. Really simple shot, really, really pretty, and I like it. It's just kind of, well, like I said, a little bit of a cliched woodland scene, but I don't care. Now, if I haven't mentioned, it's dark here today. Very dark. So in the woods, just because the canopy is so thick, it's kind of impressive, almost ominous, really. But my exposures are about 8 seconds long right now, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning. So that should tell you something. Shooting at an ISO 100, just to kind of try to keep that noise level down in my frame. F11 to help with the depth of field, because I have, you know, some of the fern leaves are stacked on top of the others, and at this close a distance, they're gonna fall out of focus from one to the other. So shooting one shot for the top layer of leaves, another shot for the bottom layer of leaves and the bark of the tree. We'll put those two together to kind of get sharp all the way through. I feel like this shot really needs all of that detail. And that's gonna be it. ISO 100, F11, 1/8 of a second, but I'm getting a little bit of sunlight now, so we're gonna change that. We're gonna stay at F11. We're gonna drop down to 4 seconds. Kind of like the contrast that's giving me anyway. I am shooting in a manual white balance today, just because it's going to be tricky in these woods. It's not shade, It's not sunlight, it's not cloudy, so I'm gonna kind of just pick my white balance as I go today that more accurately represents the scene. Currently shooting at 5200, and that's a better true representation of what I got here. If I shoot in auto, it's gonna kind of waver a little bit. The camera's gonna like, oh, it got a little bit cloudy. Oh, it got a little bit sunny. Oh, the light's just getting a little brighter. And so especially when I'm focus stacking, the color will shift in the image and you'll never get those to match in post. So going manual in the white balance, which is something I rarely do, but that's just gonna keep me consistent throughout my day. Even if I shoot everything at 5200 today, I'm at least consistent with my color all the way through. So, I'll show you what we got here. I kind of like this. It's really dead simple, and I love that. Like I said, just these beautiful, kind of lush baby green fern leaves growing in from the bottom of the frame, and just that great wood, just that terrific texture of the wood, just kind of right behind it. That kind of yellow and green contrast is what drew me into this scene. And of course, again, classic woodland scene. You kind of can't argue with it. It's pleasing to look at, if nothing else. All right, we've got 2 shots in 20 feet. Let's back up and get down this trail. We've got miles yet to go. Well, 4 anyway. Loving it. All right. A little bit of a precarious setup. I'm hugging this log here. The tripod is straddling it. I have one leg actually shooting up the log here, but I've got this tiny little sprout of a mushroom growing out of this log. And it's just all of this lush green moss around it. And the contrast of this tiny little brown mushroom guy growing out of this log that's kind of drew me in. So I'm shooting this with my 70 to 200 millimeter lens at 200 millimeters, and I have my close-up filter on the end of this lens too. I alluded to this thing quickly in my last video, but it's basically just a magnifying glass that screws onto the end of my lens. It's made by Kase, and it's optimized for focal lengths between 70 and 200 millimeters, which is perfect for this lens because it is a 70 to 200 millimeter lens. And it just allows me to get in really close and focus in very close to a subject, so I can take up more of the frame. I can make a small thing a little bit bigger. It is very touchy on the focus, so that's a challenge, but I think this is again just a nice, somewhat cliched woodland shot, but this tiny little sprout of this mushroom growing up and all of this lush green surrounding, and this close-up filter is really throwing the background super duper out of focus, so it's very kind of soft and ethereal with that one little mushroom guy just hanging out in there. I'm thinking this is a square crop. I got a couple of little guys I'm gonna have to clean up creeping in from my left-hand side, but I can't quite get them out and get the mushroom and the mushroom that I want in a good spot in the frame. So that's the compromise. I think I'm gonna have to clone out a couple of little creepers in from my left-hand side of the frame. But that's the shot, really simple. Here we are. We're perched precariously on the side of this hill, but I've got, as I was just mentioning, the rock formations along this trail are really great. They're really cool. And right here, right in front of me, I've got this tree whose roots have just split and are just following the angles of these rocks. And I'm zoomed in tight onto one little section where the root of this tree is laying perfectly along the top of the ridge of this rock. And that's the photograph. The bottom half of it is this rock. top half of it is this tree root, and it's really kind of hard to tell the difference between the two, and that's kind of what I like about it, is this melding of these two different substances, and they just seem to coexist perfectly here in the woods. It's great. They're both covered in moss. I have a polarizer on here to take a little bit of the sheen, a little bit of the glare off of the tree root, just to kind of make it blend a little bit more with that rock. It's also helping pop those greens a little bit. Shooting this at an f8, currently 4 seconds, ISO 200. And that's the shot. It's kind of just pretty. It's just, this one's just texture. This one's just woodland texture, and I like it. It's different than a leaf, and it's kind of brought my spirits back up again today. This was just really fun. I like it. I'll show you here what we're looking at. This is it. You can see here we've got the tree root on the top, and then this is just all the rock down below it. And I got this little dark space here in the bottom and a little dark space here at the top. And then we're just kind of running diagonally across the frame, and it's really, really just kind of pretty scene that is just, it's one of those when you first glance at it, you're not really sure what you're looking at, and I love that. I love that in a photograph. I really do. I like to make people kind of stop and look at it and think like, what is that? What am I looking at? And then you hope that they get it, but I enjoy this. This is so much fun. I like this little shot. I'm gonna take it again because I know my light's changing just a little bit. I think I'm getting a little more top light. Okay, so here we are. I found some mushrooms. I know nobody can believe it. I'm not sure what kind of mushrooms these are. I'm gonna have to look this one up when I get back to the internet connections. But there's just this branch that has fallen off a tree and is just laying here diagonally across this moss-covered tree here. It's got all these great little mushrooms growing out of it, and there's this little duo of mushrooms right here in front of me, and that's my shot. I have the log actually running diagonally through my frame, 2 mushrooms just kind of right in the middle, and earlier I had some more light, which I think helped make this shot a little bit more than it currently is. I'll take it now though, just to have another version of it. But I have a polarizer on there, knock a little bit of the glare off, and what it's really doing is helping kind of pop the colors in this image a bit more. Oh, we're getting some nice dappled light right now actually. So we'll do this again, but the shot, straightforward, diagonal log running again diagonally through my frame, 2 mushrooms kind of right in the middle, shooting down just ever so slightly so you kind of see the tops, but you're also seeing how they're growing ever so on these tiny little thin little stalks out of this log. Just this delicate little scene, and I really do like it. We're shooting at an ISO 200 because light's a little bit low in here. F8, quarter of a second. It's got me about 1 1/3 stop underexposed, but that's okay. Again, that underexposure is really kind of helping the darks fall off into dark, and the mushrooms pop out just a little bit more, even more so when they were getting hit with the direct sunlight. But now they're a little bit in the shade. But I think I've got the shot. I think I like it better with that direct light on it. So here's that first version. Slippy-doo, don't fall on the slippy rocks, don't fall on the slippy rocks. All right, my friends. Well, welcome to this, the turnaround point of today's trail. It's amazing. We just kind of ended up here in this dry creek bed. Not completely dry. There's a little bit of a trickle running through it, but so beautiful out here. And believe it or not, I kind of stopped noticing that for a little while. I hit a point today where I was in a little bit of a funk. There was just one moment where I just felt like I was taking photographs of the same thing again, as I did the last time, as I did the time before that, as I did the time before that. And I may have been, but I was in a new place, and I was in a new location, and it was a new experience. And I forgot that that's really why I come out here. I come out here for the experience. I come out here to enjoy the outdoors and to take in all of this, which is incredible. It's beautiful. So for me to kind of get down in the midst of all this was, for me, a little bit ridiculous. This is gorgeous and a fabulous place to be. So I kind of pushed through. About 20 yards after that little moment of funk, found that tree root along a rock, and that image was just different enough to keep me going, to keep me vitalized, and to keep me pushing through. And I'm really glad I did. That shot just kind of reminded me to stay in the moment and enjoy my surroundings, and ended up being fantastic. I'm glad I stuck with it, and I'm glad that you stuck with me. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you would like to see more, and tell your friends, because the more the merrier. And please stop on over to toddhphoto.com. There you can see some more of my work, and if you like that, consider signing up for my mailing list. There I just send out once a month a blog that just has an image and a little more story behind that image, a little more motivation and thoughts and feelings behind the image. You get a little bit more out of my photography that way. And if you'd like that and you want to support me in my work, consider signing up for my members only page. There you get access to download those images that are included in the mailing list, and you also get access to some members only content. I've got one editing video up there now, in the process of making another one, so I hope that's something you would consider. But for now, from the Buckeye Trail here in Hocking Hill State Park, somewhere in Ohio, so long, and we'll see you next time. Now I gotta go back up the trail and not slip on the slippy rocks. Pretty sure I could do it.